Hello everyone, this is Lekha. Welcome to the series of news podcasts by Susain Classes. All the news you need and more. Today we'll be picking up two areas of relevance for UPSC.
So today in our news podcast, we will be discussing the Indian Premier League and MSME. Our first discussion will be about IPL. In this, we will see some facts about IPL, the format in which it's played, the controversy that mars it, and the way they give awards. This is mostly for your prelims. And for mains, there might be very few questions which we will see in the coming slide. Quick facts about IPL. It was started by Lalit Modi, who was the BCCI chairman in 2008. So this tournament has a T20 format. It's an annual event, that means it happens every year, and it's a franchise-based event where the teams are owned by franchises. The players are auctioned, and there are a total of 19 to 25 players in each team. There are a maximum of 8 overseas players which can be in any team and 4 in the playing 11. The format is that of round robin. We will see that in detail in the coming slides. And in 2020, it's being held in UAE. This is because of the COVID pandemic in India and because of the uncontrollable numbers. And in UAE, there is no quarantine and everything is open. There's a 100% employee attendance rate, which is currently going on. But the final of the tournament is going to be held in Mumbai. These are the list of IPL winners till now from 2008 to 2019. The UPSC may ask a question regarding who was the last winner or who has won it the most times. So the answer for the most times is Mumbai Indians. You can pause and take a note of this. Let us discuss some basics. There are a total of 8 teams in this season and the format is that of 2020, that is 20 overs in 1 inning. So there are a total of 2 innings. Today, the IPL is kicking off with Mumbai Indians versus CSK at 7:30 p.m. So please tune in and watch. And based on the IPL, there are 7 popular leagues. One is the Big Bash in Australia, which was actually part of the Indian international cricketing scene even before IPL. And then there's the Caribbean League, there's a Bangladesh League, there's a Mazani Super League of South Africa, there is also a Pakistan Super League and a Super Smash of New Zealand, and the last but not the least is T20 Blast of England and Wales. What is different about this is that the ball used is the same in one entire inning, unlike ODIs where they use 2 different balls. One interesting thing to note is that IPL generates an economic output of rupees 2,605 crores and to the Indian GDP it gives 1,150 crores. So it has a lot of economic impact for us. Now, we'll see some of the new rules that have been set in place for IPL 2020. One is that there's no ball umpire. From IPL 2020, we may see the no ball umpire. ICC has recently started in international cricket where third umpire checks every ball for no ball. We are not sure if third umpire will be the no ball umpire or there will be another person. There is also a mid-season transfer. This was there since 2019 itself, where 2 teams can swap players during the mid-tournament with mutual understanding that players have not played any match from 7 matches. But from 2020, they can also swap if they have played 2 or lesser matches as well. And there will be no opening ceremony this time. The new BCCI president, Ganguly, has taken many big decisions and one such is that no opening ceremony. This is because they believe very less revenue is generated in the opening ceremony and generally revenues are not affected with the ceremony or not, and there's a high cost involved. There is a change in schedule. Now they will no longer have afternoon matches or there will be very few, mostly because viewership is large in the evening itself, and this time we may have over 60 days in IPL. Another important rule is that of boundary count. In the ODI World Cup of New Zealand versus England in 2019, we had witnessed this. But let's see what this is and why it's a part of IPL.
was the first World Cup where there were rules set in place in case a match in a knockout ended in a tie. And if the Super Over also ended in a tie, the rule was that the winner will be declared on the boundary countback. So the boundary countback is seeing which team has scored the most number of boundaries, including both the regulation innings and the Super Over. And in case both the number of boundaries are similar in that instance, we look at only the boundaries scored in the regulation innings.
Now that we've discussed all the new rules, let's see all the teams that are taking part. Chennai Super Kings, Knight Riders Kolkata, Mumbai Indians, Rajasthan Royals, Kings 11 Punjab, Delhi Capitals, Sunrisers Hyderabad and Royal Challengers Bengaluru. All of them represent each city in the India, and if you're from this particular city, I think you're going to have fun. Also, please refer to our MCQs posted in the Telegram group, which will be based on the topics of the videos, so that you can also revise. The format of the tournament is that each of the teams will play each other at home and away. This is based on EPL style, which is the English Premier League. That is a football tournament held in England where they play each of the teams at home and away. This is called as double round robin. After this, if a match is won, you get 2 points. If there's a loss, there's 0. If there's a tie or no result, 1 point is awarded. After all the matches are completed, the top 4 teams progress to the playoffs and the bottom 4 teams are eliminated. In the playoffs, there is a certain structure. There's a qualifier, eliminator, qualifier 2 and the finals. The eliminator is between the 3rd and 4th team out of the top 4, and one will be eliminated. And the qualifier is between team 1 and 2. Whoever wins this directly goes to the finals. And the qualifier 2 is between the loser of qualifier 1 and the winner of eliminator. So in the final, it's winner of qualifier 1 and winner of qualifier 2. This is basically the format. Now, BCCI is a board of cricket control in India, which is a national governing body. It governs the IPL as well. But there was a controversy which has marred it. Because of that, the Supreme Court has appointed a special committee under Mukul Mugdal to investigate the irregularities in the IPL and BCCI, because there was a spot fixing scandal in 2013. So, more about BCCI. It is a society which is registered under Tamil Nadu Societies Registration Act. It was formed in 1928. Its revenue is from that of broadcast fees, from International Cricket Council's fund, gate fees, miscellaneous sponsorship. It does not receive any funds from the government of India. This you have to keep in mind. Now, the Mukul Mugdal committee was formed in November 2014, and it had found that the owner of Chennai Super Kings, Gurunath Meyyappan, Rajasthan Royals owner Raj Kundra were guilty of betting, and the then BCCI chairman N. Srinivasan did not act against the accused despite knowing their violations. So this is why another committee was formed, Lodha Committee. It was formed by the Supreme Court in January 2015, and his recommendations were these. The tenure should be of the BCCI chairman or any principal officer of 3 years, and they cannot hold office for more than 3 terms in total, and no 2 terms consecutively. And they have said that the BCCI should come under the RTI Act, and he has legalized betting so that there is less corruption in this area, and this can only be on registered sites and not the players and the officials, but general public can bet. These are just the recommendations. Each state will only have one official association which will be registered with BCCI. There will be separate governing bodies for IPL and BCCI. There will be an ombudsman for internal disputes, an ethics officer and an electorate officer to oversee the BCCI activities. This is a triad. Now, basically, this was formed for punishment for those named in the Mugdal Committee report and to recommend reforms. He has also said that the CSK and the RR, that is Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals, they were banned for 2 years after this, and they were the owners of these teams were banned for life from taking part in any BCCI related activity. Some other reforms were done that of eligibility, that no person above 70 years can be a part of BCCI, that is key principal officers, and he must be an Indian, and he should not have held any office in the BCCI for a cumulative period of 9 years. So these are some of the recommendations, and Supreme Court has said that BCCI must follow this because there was strong opposition from their end. Now, some of the awards that the IPL winners get is, one is Orange Cap. In 2019, it was won by David Warner, and the first IPL, it was won by Sean Mars. What is Orange Cap? It is the leading run scorer in IPL. And next is the Purple Cap. It is the person who takes the most wickets in IPL. In 2019, Imran Tahir has won, and in 2008, it was Sohail Tanvir. There is another award called the Maximum Sixes, which is very obvious. It was won by Andre Russell in 2019. The most valuable player, it's actually called the man of the match or man of the tournament, and this was won by Andre Russell. He was felicitated for the same. In 2008, Sean Watson had won. Emerging player is actually for the best under 19 or best under 23 success of the tournament. These were all the names which were given before. From 2014, this has been called the Emerging Player of the Year, and it was won in 2019 by Shubham Gill. And Mumbai Indians was the IPL winner of 2019. So these are some of the awards you should keep in mind, especially that of Orange Cap, Purple Cap, Most Valuable Player, and Emerging Player of the Year. So the key highlights of what all we have learned is UAE is hosting the 2020 IPL due to the pandemic in India, which is uncontrollable. The double round robin format is followed in the T20 IPL series. Mumbai Indians have won 5 times, and Justice Lodha Committee was formed after Mukul Mugdal Committee's review for punishment and recommendations for BCCI. Orange Cap is the award given for the most number of runs, and another is Purple Cap for most number of wickets. Now, coming to our second thing, we will discuss the scope of Atmanirbhar Bharat with regards to MSME mostly. We will just quickly go through the other aspects. What are MSMEs and benefits which will accrue to them because of this? You can refer to yesterday's video which discusses the other aspects of agricultural policy of Atmanirbhar. We will attach the link below. Minister, in the recent Atmanirbhar Abhiyan or the self-reliant movement, had emphasized on 5 pillars, which is economy, that is economy that will not just bring incremental change but a quantum jump in figures. Then infrastructure, which will be modern India's symbol. Then system that will be technologically driven, and vibrant demography, which will be a source of energy for the nation, and demand and supply, which will boost the economy. So now our MSME sector is very vibrant, and it contributes to about 40% of the Indian workforce, and it contributes significantly to the GDP as well. This is why our Prime Minister has emphasized that they will be bringing about 6 regulatory measures in this sector, because currently due to the COVID pandemic, it is very difficult for the sector to survive. So there's an economic and comprehensive package of rupees 20 lakhs, which is equivalent to about 10% of India's GDP, that has been released, and it will cater to various sections of the society like cottage industry, MSME, laborers, middle class industries, among others, and different sectors like food, leather, etc. are also targeted, so that our influence on Chinese production is reduced and we will move from globalization to localization. And in order for this to happen, the Prime Minister has also clearly stated that we must buy in our local market. There are bold reforms which have been done across sectors to push towards this goal of self-reliance. Now, what are the changes that have taken place in MSME? First, the Act. What is MSME? Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Act was brought about in 2006. So the definition for this is investment in plant and machinery, which does not include investment for environmental purposes, putting up of safety standards. All these are not included in calculation of the investment in plant and machinery. Basically, on the investment, you could divide into micro, small or medium enterprise. Now, from May 13th, 2020, under this Atmanirbhar Bharat, there are revised definitions which not only include plant and machinery investment, but it also includes annual turnover. And this is done so that more number of industries and small scale shops and enterprises can be brought about in this definition, which will give a boost to their growth. Now, investment limits are also revised along with adding of annual turnover clause. Additional criteria, this is turnover is introduced. Then there is no distinction between manufacture and service sector. Earlier, this was only for the manufacture or production of goods and production of intermediary goods as well. But now we have included both manufacturing and service, and there's no distinction between what amount will be for which one. Earlier in the preliminary definition, manufacturers of rupees 25 lakh whose investment was in plant and machinery were micro enterprises. Then between 25 lakh to 5 crore were the small enterprises, and from 5 crore to 10 crore were medium enterprises. Now the necessary amendments will also take place to the law to accommodate this. As you can see, the current MSME classification is investment 25 lakh, investment 5 crore for small and rupees 10 crore. And the service sector there were different numbers, rupees 10 lakh, rupees 2 crore and rupees 5 crore respectively. Now in our revised classification, the investment is up to rupees 1 crore, which has been increased from 25 lakhs. Then here it is 10 crore, which has again been increased from 5 crores. And here it is now 20 crores again, which is revised. And there's no difference between manufacturing and service. Now both are same. And along with this, there is an AND clause. That means both have to be fulfilled at once, not just one. There has to be an annual turnover of 5 crore, rupees 50 crore and rupees 100 crore respectively. Now, in order to register yourself as an MSME, you just have to apply to the national portal where you can register yourself currently. And other 6 major benefits for the MSMEs under this program are: a collateral-free automatic loan has been approved. Then an emergency credit line of rupees 20,000 crores has been given. Rupees 3 lakh crore has been announced for the time period, for the period of 4 years, but 45 lakh MSMEs are supposed to be benefited due to this. Tenders for government procurement up to 200 crore will no longer be allowed globally. And also subordinate debts will be facilitated by the government for problem of stress and equity for around 2 lakh MSME. E-commerce platforms via market links, because usually these MSMEs sell their goods in carts or marketplaces. Due to COVID, this is not going to happen. So they're going to try to create e-commerce market linkages. And all the dues that are due to the MSMEs will be given within 45 days from the government agency. And an EPF, that is Employee Provident Fund, support of rupees 2,500 crore will also be given within 3 months. A fund of funds will be set up, which will be operated by the mother fund to extend help and capacity. Under the Act of MSME, there are credit facilities which are given by the government. There are funds which are allocated for them specifically. There is procurement preference policy, that some items will only be procured from MSME to some amount of percentage. This is all for the promotion, development and increasing the competitiveness of the MSMEs to a global level. This is the main objective of the act. I'm going to reiterate it: promotion, development and competitiveness of the MSME sector. So now, highlights of everything we've learned. There will be a fund of funds that will be created to help the MSMEs. E-market links to be established to help them sell their goods. And there's a revision of definition of MSME.
Now coming to our daily news diary segment, let's discuss some questions. The first one is from our general essay paper. It's time to debate on who gets the vaccine first through informed choices. Elaborate. From GS paper 3, what are the steps taken by the central government to protect domestic industry from misuse of free trade agreements? Another question. The tallest grass on earth among the cheapest immunity boosters for increasing the human body's resistance to viral attacks. This is a statement and you must discuss this. Now from GS paper 2. What are the recent steps taken by the Pakistan to boost trade with its neighboring nations and what are its spill effects? Another is a short question from GS paper 2. It is, what's the Gorkha land demand and why is it in news? Now, the prelims practice question for today is, which of the following is considered to be the most successful agreements for environment signed to protect ozone layer? Kyoto Protocol, Helsinki, Geneva and Montreal Protocol. Please select the answer and check tomorrow for the answer. From yesterday, we have, according to ICMR, the antibodies produced in COVID-19 infection convalescent plasma theory, which is the most visible neutralizing effect. The answer is C, immunoglobulin G. Here you can read a little bit about immunoglobulin G and please try to answer all the questions, and you may refer to our website of sourcingclasses.com for the answers.
This is a wrap on Your News podcast. Tomorrow is another day with another news. Please like, share and subscribe.